Hi, how you doing? And welcome back to another video on the channel. First of all, thank you for all the support. Had a couple of new subscribers recently, and it's all greatly appreciated. And let's get into it. So we've got a wildcard video for game week 8. It's important to know that there's been postponements this week. Man United, Leeds, and Chelsea, Liverpool have been added to the original Brighton Palace fixture that's been called off due to shortage of police. So don't use your free hit this week because it'll be a lot more valuable later in the season for double game weeks. We know there'll be at least one because of last week's cancellations, but there's usually another one around FA Cup quarter-final weekend. Use the wild card now as it needs using up before the World Cup anyway, so you might as well get the benefits of having some decent fixtures moving forwards. So here we have the teams to target, and whilst the first one may come as a surprise, it shouldn't. Villa have had an extra week to work on their defensive frailties, and although they've conceded 10 in the first six, now's the time to really sink or swim, as they're not going to get a more straightforward fixture run to turn it around. Next up, we have Fulham, and the one thing stopping FPL owners from getting Mitrovic in was the tough fixtures to start the season. Well, now those games are out of the way, and he's proven he can score against anyone. So if you are wildcarding, get him in because there's no need to wait anymore. The third team we're looking at is West Ham, a bit more solid in recent weeks and showing the fight and determination we want to see. Even with their start, they're yet to concede more than two in a single game week and have already played Man City, Spurs, and Chelsea. With none of Southampton, Wolves, and Everton scoring more than six in their first six games, there are some cheap West Ham defensive options who will also enable you to get in premium players as well. It's important to note that Wolves have only scored three and Everton four, respectively, so far this season, and are two of the three lowest scoring teams in the whole league. Newcastle are a great team to get players in from. They're not too expensive and with huge upside, they're an obvious team to target for me. Three of their next six are nearly averaging 2 goals conceded per game, making Newcastle's attack a particular area of focus. Finally, we have Spurs, even more of a team to target given the notable absences of Liverpool, Chelsea, and Man United from this game week. If you don't like them long term, they're fairly easy to move on from, with both Kane and Son having many cheaper options available. Moving on to teams to avoid, and we start with Liverpool. They were already on this list before the blank this week due to their tough fixtures and poor form, but now there really isn't a reason to to own the players and rush them in until game week 12, sorry. And even then, you'd want to look at the form. Second is Wolves, an immediate roadblock with Man City and Chelsea in the next three, combined with solid teams like West Ham, Palace, and Brentford, gives me no reason to even look at them. Moving on to Arsenal, and whilst their players have become more appealing due to the recent blanks from the other teams, they should only be a short term hold at best. We're yet to see them do it against big teams, so I'd have a plan in place to take them out after Brentford, or at least a rotation backup if you fancy their chances in some of those games. Brighton are interesting. Just a couple of game weeks ago, you'd be seen as a fool for not having in any Brighton players, but the immediate blank plus losing their manager creates uncertainty going forward. Those fixtures are also not something you should target unless it's a cheap player. I'd stay away. Finally, up steps Leeds. Now, they have a blank this weekend, but Man United wouldn't exactly be a game you'd have want to rush players in for. Their upcoming fixtures don't look too bad on paper, but if you ignore the colour grading, they're not that straightforward. Palace and Arsenal won't be easy, and Villa and Leicester are scrapping for points in these potential six-pointers against Leeds for places at similar ends of the table. Moving on to the team and starting in goal, we have Nick Pope. Newcastle are doing well at keeping shots from opposition teams to long range, and Pope has already kept clean sheets in half his games so far, getting the maximum three bonus points in two of them. Entering the defence, we'll start with Emerson. West Ham look to be turning a corner, and at 4 mil, he's a great cheap choice. You also wouldn't mind putting on your bench if the fixtures don't suit. Doubling up with Newcastle defence, I've chosen Trippier. Already having a small price rise shouldn't put potential owners off. He has the same clean sheet chances as Pope, as well as that a constant attacking and set piece threat for a bargain price. It's for similar reasons I've gone for Digne. Obviously, the clean sheet risk is greater here, but Villa should be turning into a mid table team soon enough, and he's proven over the years he's an assist threat, coming close to double digit assists in two out of the last three seasons. Moving into midfield, and we start with Bowen. Very underrated and already dropping down 0.4 million means you're getting a great deal. With 12 goals and 17 assists last season, once West Ham get firing, I'm sure he'll be a big part of it. You'd want to get him in now to get ahead of the curve. Son's a premium asset in a team without many expensive players here. I still have 2.3 million left in the bank at the end of this, so all players used can be easily upgraded. Son's a great choice this week, especially, and I'm sticking with the eye test for him. With other big teams having a blank, he's at least a brilliant 1 week player. Saint Maximum has the potential injury label on him right now, but this wildcard team has a deep bench and there's plenty of cover if needed. The upside of his explosiveness is massive, and that's surely worth the risk. Rounding out the midfield, we have Foden. People are worried about his minutes, but you should be reassured that he got near enough 90 minutes in 4 out of the 6 games so far, and the ones that he hadn't were where Man City were already miles ahead. Goal contributions of 4 also make him underrated in that 8 million bracket. Into the strike force we go, and the first one speaks for himself. Just get Haaland in. Mentioning Mitrovic earlier would be foolish not to put him in now. He's shown he can score against anyone and everyone, and ignore the zero point 0.4 million price rise, he's still tremendous value. Ending the starting 11 with Tony, this makes a very clinical front three. His form and Brentford's fixtures are a recipe for success, and he'll be revelling in the media hype for an England call up. Like I said, this is a deep bench with all players likely to start for their teams. You can swap them around as you see fit to manage the fixtures. Lastly, a couple of tips. Use your wildcard soon. You've got another one over the World Cup, so it's worth getting the benefit of fixtures in right now. Finally, keep an eye out for fixture changes, including any being added. This is unlikely, but you never know. Thank you very much for listening. Let me know what you think about my team. Is there any upgrades you'd make immediately? I appreciate all the support. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one.